What up is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. We do daily Dynasty content, so please subscribe so you get notified for new videos so you get to see this face every single day. All right, we're doing the top 10 quarterbacks. Now, sometimes I go 1 through 5 or 1 through 10. Sometimes I go the other way. This time, I'm going to go 1 through 10 because 1's pretty obvious. We're going to start with the Super Bowl losing, unfortunately, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes, I think, is a pretty easy choice. We're going to go this very quickly, but he was number 1 his sophomore year. He was number 7 in 14 games, which is, I mean, we're talking he could have been top 5 easily. And then he was 4th last year. He is 25 years young. He won't be 26 till the start of the next season. He is what I believe is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I know that Tom Brady will still be the GOAT for a little while at least. We have Patrick Mahomes, just his stats are crazy. I mean, 38 touchdowns this year, 6 interceptions, 4,700 yards. Yeah, I don't know what else you really want from him. I mean, he gives you even a little bit of a rushing baseline. He runs for 200 plus yards the last 3 years, and he's had 2 touchdowns the last 3 years. So that is Patrick Mahomes. He is what some are calling the baby GOAT, but whatever you want to call him, he is my number 1, and will stay that way for a little while at least. I don't see anybody taking him over, at least in fantasy. I mean, he's got Hill, he's got Kelsey. They'll draft somebody. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They got weapons. My number 2, though, is this might be controversial. I don't know where he's at in the general consensus of rankings, but mine is going to be Kyler Murray. And I understand there's a couple of big questions and concerns that people have, but he had 2 really good years. I mean, he was 8th in fantasy his rookie year, which is incredible. And he was 3rd last year. So he has had 2 really good years. And we were talking about 3,700 yards in both years. He only had 26 not rushing or receiving, passing touchdowns. He had 11 rushing. So look at that. 11 rushing. Do I think he's going to have 11 rushing next year? No. Do I think he'll have like 6 or 7? Yes. I think that will come down, but I think his passing touchdowns will be better, and I think he'll have a better running back. I think Kenyon Drake is okay, but I think they're going to draft a running back, or at least I hope so, in the next year or two. I mean, we're looking at maybe a Travis Etienne, maybe even a Javonte Williams that goes there. I think that's going to be an awesome place for them. Even a Kenneth Gainwell. That really helps the offense go along. And just if you look at that offensive style, they have Nuke, they have Christian Kirk, they have some weapons around him, and you could even see them drafting a wide receiver too. Again, these are all ifs, maybes, and buts, but I think Kyler Murray, just with his legs, I mean, he ran for 819 yards. You even put that down a little bit, I still think he's going to be he's a better passer than like a Lamar Jackson. So I feel like he needs to be put there. But number 3, right on his heels, and I mean, we were talking right on his heels. So Kyler Murray's 23, but one guy that's 1 year older than him, Mr. Josh Allen, who's 24, and Josh Allen had an incredible year. I mean, the number 1 fantasy quarterback in 2020. So a little golf clap there. Number 1 quarterback. And this was my guy the last 2 years when it came into redraft, just because I thought it was fun to have him. I drafted him, or I picked him off on waivers midway through his rookie year, and then drafted him last year. And everyone was talking about how he wasn't a very good runner and stuff. I was like, the guy got me 9 rushing touchdowns in 2019. I mean, he had 8 the other years. So this guy can run. This has he has good rushing touchdowns. I mean, 8, 9, and 8. You're thinking like, is that Lamar Jackson? You'd probably name a couple other quarterbacks. Is that Kyler Murray? But you only know he only played for 2 years. But you're thinking like, which quarterback is that? Or if I told you that was Deshaun Watson's stats, you'd be like, oh, that maybe, yeah. But I mean, Josh Allen, who's not known for being super fleet of foot for at least rushing touchdowns, I mean, that's incredible. I do think that would potentially go down as he gets better with his passing game. Like his junior year here, he is broken out. And I think he'll continue to do better passing-wise, but I would see more of like a Justin Herbert style offense. What I mean by that is Herbert does a lot of passing, a little bit of rushing, only when needed. I think Josh Allen, they're going to save him. They're going to be like, he's our future. We need to find better plays to make sure that we keep him for the long run, so we're not beating up his body, because that's what you don't want, is you don't want your quarterback to get hurt. But besides that, I mean, junior breakout, I don't think there's much else to say. Josh Allen, number 3. So number 4 has been Mr. Consistent with a mystery team potentially in 2021 because it's Deshaun Watson. And I'm thinking worst case scenario is he's back on Houston. And if you look at his 4 years, I'm going to take away his freshman year that he was 26th, but he was fourth, and fifth. I mean, the guy has been a model of consistency he's fourth on my list here, but I mean, he is consistent. You look at what he's done. He had 4,800 yards. That's number one in the NFL. He had 4,800 yards. He was 70% completion percentage. I mean, the guy has had 68% for his entire year. He has 14,000 yards in the last, 13,000 basically the last 3 years. He's been incredible. He's even had at least 26 passing touchdowns the last 2 years. He limits himself on picks. He has 15 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 years. He's had 400 rushing yards at least in the last 3 years. What else do you want? You want a baseline of a guy that can throw for at least 4,000 yards, at least 26 touchdowns, at least rush for 3 to 5 touchdowns and rush for 400 yards. Deshaun Watson's your guy, and hopefully he's in a better situation. Please, Miami, please somewhere good like that. Jets would probably not thrill me too much, but at least Adam Gase is gone. So, my number 5 quarterback is a guy who ESPN's still listing as questionable, which I think is just hilarious at this point. But anyways, is Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott, if he didn't have an injury, Dak Prescott could easily be the number, all the way up to number 2. Why not? Yeah, he's 27, but what he did in 5 games? 5 games? And he didn't even play all 5 games. We had 1,856 yards, which was 14th in the NFL. And he had 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. It was crazy. You look at his pace of what he was at. He's above his pace of 4,902 last year, and so he has a potential to have 5,000 yards passing. And he had 30 touchdowns in 2019, so he has potential to be way up there. If we look at Dak's years, he's been 6th, 11th, 10th, 2nd, and then he was 32nd in 5 games. Yeah, he scored that many points that he was 32nd. That means he was right pretty close to some other players that probably played for the majority of the season. Pretty incredible for what he did. He had 222 passing attempts in 5 games. That's quick math. That's 45. Yeah, that's a lot per game. So hopefully Dallas can find themselves a defense or keep him healthy. But also Dak Prescott had 3 rushing touchdowns. He's had at least 3 rushing touchdowns in every year of his career. Hopefully that ankle keeps up. He's had 6 rushing touchdowns in 3 of his 5 years. We're looking at a baseline again. He has the Deshaun Watson type of, stat line, but we know where Dak is. And Dak has an amazing offense. The only question is his injury. Can he recover fully from the injury? But 1 through 5, that's kind of those I think can get switched around potentially with other people. I think other people might be Dak's a little bit higher, or maybe Watson's higher than Allen, or Allen's ahead of Murray. Those 5 are kind of 1, Mahomes is in a tier, and then 2 through 5 are in a tier of themselves. And then we go from a different tier. Now we have Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson, why he's in a different tier is we know about rushing quarterbacks. We know their lifespan just doesn't live up to the other type of quarterbacks that decide to throw very much. And I really did not like Lamar's passing. We're talking 2,750 or 2,700 yards passing. That's not going to cut it out for being a top 3 fantasy quarterback. And he wasn't. He was 29th in his rookie year, didn't play all year. He was 1st, which is awesome, but then he was 10th. And I could see more 10ths because he had 1,000 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns on the ground. So that, it's in just itself, is Kyler Murray's type of running. And so he should be a top 3 quarterback, Lamar Jackson, but he just did not pass well. And he has some weapons, Marquise Brown. He has Mark Andrews. I'm trying to think of the other wide, Devin Duvernay. He has Devin Duvernay. They'll probably draft a wide receiver for him. It's just the issues of Lamar Jackson are all of his passing. It's why he's 6th. I don't think he has the potential long term to keep it up with a Watson and an Allen, who can go over a year in, get a top 3 finish. I think Lamar is going to be more of a yo-yo. 1st, 10th, maybe back up to 3rd, back down to 12th. That could be the yo-yo you get from Lamar. but still high on Lamar. My number 7th for quarterback, he's 22. He was named Rookie of the Year. Congratulations over my man, Justin Jefferson. But he is Justin Herbert. So a lot of times people took him 3rd in Superflex, and they took him 3rd in the rookie draft of 2020 out of quarterbacks. But he had 4,336 passing yards, and Tyrod started the year. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And he had 31 touchdowns and 10 picks. So just an incredible year for Justin Herbert, and he deserves to be here because even if he put up 4,336 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 10 picks through the entire year, and I know that he didn't start the season, and I mean, so he could have had more yards and touchdowns. But let's just say that was his stat line for 2021. I think no one would be mad, and I think it would be a good season for him. I mean, he was 9th overall for fantasy production for total points on the year, and I could see him easily being right around there as well again. And again, I think that's a fine year for him. I think it's an awesome year for him, and he could even go up higher if they really. I mean, if they get Austin Eckler back fully healthy. You're talking about a guy that can get dump off routes and stuff like that could really even produce more fantasy value for Justin Herbert. My number 8 has not even had a snap in the NFL. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. And the reason for Trevor Lawrence is because Trevor Lawrence has all the tools and abilities, and he's a once-in-a-generation talent. If he becomes even half of what Peyton Manning is, he's a steal at 8. And that's just what it is. I mean, he is all potential and nothing else to back it out on. I mean, that's really all it is. I mean, he's 21 years old. He's going to come in. He's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar who's going to have at least DJ Shark. Who knows if they're going to put it. I hope they draft him a tight end. Maybe a Brevin Jordan, Pat Freiermuth, something like those lines to help. He's going to have James Robinson in the backfield. Their defense is not great at Jacksonville, so I think they're going to be in some higher scoring games. And we saw that with Gardner Minshew, and we saw that with whoever the other quarterbacks were in that horrible season. But they only won one game, so I really think that if he stays upright, which is a big if, but I think Lawrence could definitely be a steal at 8. Number 9 and number 10, one's 37, one's 24, and I had a real hard time with this, but I stuck with my guns. Number 9 is going to be Aaron Rodgers. And again, he might be too low depending on how long he lasts in the NFL. We see quarterbacks last till they're 42, 43, and I know that those are exceptions to the rules, but I really think Rodgers has not slowed down one bit, being 37, being the MVP of the league. I mean, let's just look at, these are his seasons that he completed the NFL. So there was 2 seasons he got hurt. Okay, 2 seasons that he only played 9 games and 7 games, and I'm going to count what his fantasy finishes were: 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 7. Oh no, he's getting bad. 1, 7, 9, 2. So I would say majority of those were 2s and 1s. He's had 4 number 1s and 4 number 2s. So, I mean, if you look at his seasons, I mean, he has a good chance of being a top 2 fantasy quarterback. And if he does that a couple more years, he's at number 9. He is just perfectly fine being in the top 10. And if somebody goes on here and goes, you put him way too low, I'm going to say, well, I don't think he's going to last 6 years. And if somebody says you put him way too high, I'm going to say, well, I think he's going to at least last 3 to 4 years. So I think it's that 4 to 5 year mark. He is 37. I just could see him into that 42 range. If you have 4 or 5 good years, really good years of quarterback, I think he's fine here at 9. Would I trade him? Would I rather have Lawrence straight up? Yes. Would I rather have Burrow? And that's still like a really, really tough decision for me because Burrow's 24 and we don't fully know, and he's recovering from, of course, a major knee injury, which is why Burrow is number 10 here on my list. I mean, he was 25th in points per game. He only had 13 touchdowns and 2,688 yards and 5 picks. Again, 10 games. We don't know much about how they're gonna. Please, hopefully, just shore up that offensive line for him. Don't let him become David Carr. I was trying to think of his name. Yep, David Carr, because he would become a ragdoll. And there's chances that Burrow doesn't become what we thought or what we wanted him to become. And maybe it was Justin Herbert that we wanted all along, and we blindly I guess like mini NFL scouts, they get it wrong. We loved Burrow coming out of LSU. He made amazing plays, but maybe we got the wrong quarterback. Maybe we got the wrong quarterback in the draft, and Burrow's not going to be what he's going to turn into Baker. Like, Baker's a okay quarterback in the NFL. I mean, some would say he's turning into decent, but for fantasy wise, it's just not a quarterback that you're sitting there drooling over. And if Burrow's mobility is not going to be great because of his knee, or if he's not going to turn into this guy who's going to get 400 or 500 yards, then he's not going to turn into what that top 5 quarterback. And I'd rather have Lawrence, I'd rather have Herbert, and I'd rather have Rodgers at this point right now. If you told me, if you tell me in a year, it may change, but that's what I say. So those are my top 10 quarterbacks. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, as we're doing daily content, and you get to see this mug, this face for a while. And then, yeah, just pass on the word. We're hoping we've been growing this channel quite a bit. And if there's any other channels that you think that I would collab well with and do videos well with, I'm always looking at recommendations there. Or you can just comment my name, say, hey, you should do a video on, and you just say it on their channel and say, hey, you should do a video with Dynasty Football Dad's Marcus. Like, he would love to do a video with him, because you know what, I got some time. I would like to mingle and hang out with some other people that want to do some mock drafts and stuff. So, all right, this is Marcus. Take care. See you tomorrow.